Scare in Fort Collins tonight. Two fires broke out within minutes of each other. Sky 9 caught both sending up plumes of smoke within the last few hours. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Kyle Clark.
I'm Kim Christensen. There are no reports of any damage or injuries from either fire, but some voluntary evacuations were ordered and later lifted. 9 News reporter Ria Jha joins us from Fort Collins tonight. Ria, what's the latest?
Both of these fires are mostly contained right now at the Lee Martinez fire. There are some personnel on scene. The Lee Martinez fire is adjacent to a recreational park. There's some basketball courts and some baseball fields, and this is just less than a 10-minute drive away from the first fire that happened near an amusement park called Fort Fun. So here's what we know right now. The first fire came in around 5:15 this evening for what's called the Mulberry Fire behind Fort Fun. When crews got there, they upgraded it to a second alarm and called in help from neighboring agencies. Then, while crews were still working that fire, multiple callers reported this second fire here near Lee Martinez Park. Fire officials say both fires were burning in similar fuels, so brush, grasses, and cottonwoods near the river, so they had to split resources between both scenes. The size estimate for the Mulberry Fire was about 7.5 acres and about a half acre here for the Lee Martinez fire. Voluntary evacuations were issued near the Mulberry Fire out of an abundance of caution, but those have since been lifted. Officials say it is too early to know whether these fires are connected or just a coincidence. And I spoke with firefighters here on scene who says this type of fire of this size doesn't happen usually until August, and that it was suspicious that both of these fires happened at the same time. So investigators will be on scene here and both at the Mulberry Fire all night looking into that. Reporting live in Fort Collins, Ria Jha, 9 News.
Kathy Sabin, we know the fire risk is high, but no lightning today. It wasn't like an absolutely crispy, dry day, you know, where, a muffler is going to start a fire. I don't know. You don't like to see too close together like that.
No, you don't. And this is one of those days where we didn't have a lot of wind. We didn't have record high temperatures. We weren't under a fire weather warning, thank goodness. Low level moisture was higher than it typically is for this time of year. So yeah, something about that doesn't seem right. And tomorrow we're moving into a warm, dry and windy day when some areas will go back under a fire weather warning. So certainly concerning. And we have poor air quality. Wanted to remind you there is an air quality alert out through 4 tomorrow for high levels of ground level ozone. Temperatures in the 60s now. We're in the 70s all afternoon, which is a whole lot cooler than the low to mid 80s we typically see this time of year. The low level moisture increasing a bit with easterly winds, but out across the western slope, we have humidity levels in the single digits. The winds will be increasing out of the south again. So red flag and fire weather warnings go out again tomorrow for western Colorado. So far, a bit of a reprieve for the Front Range and Eastern Plains. Not to say that we won't have fire concerns tomorrow with highs in the 90s, and the wind will be picking up. But the worst of it looks to be over western Colorado for tomorrow. So we're going to talk more about that coming up. And also a storm I'm tracking for the weekend. If you have outdoor plans, hiking, biking, camping, stay tuned to the weekend forecast. You're going to want to kind of know what's coming in on Sunday. We'll have that in just a bit.
Thank you, Kathy. So we're starting to see warnings about toxic algae blooms. One was just detected at Jackson Lake up in northeast Colorado.
And as 9 News reporter Colton Chavez explains, while it seems early for something like this, CPW says just a sign of the season.
When it's hot out like this, you want to get into the water.
Escaping the heat should be easy for visitors at Jackson Lake.
And we brought a paddleboard and some paddles. We're hoping to go paddleboarding, but
this sign along the swim beach made things more difficult for James Watt and his family.
I was really bummed. I saw that. I was looking forward to going paddleboarding because it's so much fun.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife says during its weekly summer testing, toxic algae was found in the water.
When we do have a bloom that starts producing toxins at a level above what CDPHE recommends, that's when we start either restricting recreation, contact with the water, and start kind of putting out signs.
And when it comes to these algae alerts, CPW says there's 2 levels to it. Here at the swim beach, it's a yellow level, which means you can recreate at your own risk. And there are the red zones, like the boat ramps here at Jackson State Park, and that's where CPW says you just shouldn't get in the water at all.
But the entire reservoir is not infected with this algae bloom. So it's only at these certain places.
Caravan Hoos with Colorado Parks and Wildlife says contact with toxic algae can be bad for both people and their pets.
It's basically just everything in a Pepto-Bismol commercial. So it's a lot of like gastrointestinal things.
Kara says Jackson Lake will need to test negative for toxins for 2 consecutive weeks before the alerts are removed. It's not a quick fix for visitors looking to stay for a couple of days.
Well, this is actually the first time that we've come to this lake.
But it is a chance to explore other parts of the park until the water clears up.
I think we were here for like 3 days. Just bought a football and frisbee, so I can do that instead.
At Jackson Lake, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
Xcel is asking for permission to raise electrical rates for customers. If the proposed increase gets approval from state regulators, it would be one of the biggest hikes in Colorado history. The hearing process began today. It will help determine whether regulators approve, change, or reject the proposed rate hike later this summer. Xcel says the increase is to pay for grid upgrades, reliability, and other infrastructure. But consumer advocates argue customers are already paying too much. The Public Utilities Commission is also encouraging the public to weigh in.
This is going to have real-world impact on our families that we're trying to help. And seeing this increased need for service on top of a mild winter when we're looking at a hot summer does provide concern for ESC.
There will be public comment at the hearing on Tuesday. You can submit comments online, by email, by mail, or by phone.
Severe staffing shortages are creating wait times sometimes longer than 90 minutes at Denver's DMV. During the migrant crisis in 2024, Mayor Mike Johnson cut the city budget, and the DMV went into a rolling closure model, shutting one of the 4 branches every week. According to the city treasurer, that instability made the staffing situation worse. Branches are now running at 55% of the staff they need. Turnover is up 17% over last year.
Essentially, a staff employee might not know where they're working tomorrow or the next week. And that creates a lot of inconsistency, I would say.
The city has the 4 branches plus the Tremont location, which also serves commercial customers whose appointments tend to take longer. To speed things up, the city plans to have the Tremont location exclusively do commercial work, and they'll use its staff to keep all 4 residential branches open every week.
New tonight, the superintendent of Denver Public Schools could be headed to Miami. The district confirms Dr. Alex Marrero is a candidate for the superintendent job there. Miami-Dade County Public Schools told the Miami Herald that Marrero is one of 21 people who applied for the position. He has been with DPS since 2021, but his leadership has been a point of contention over the years. The Chicago Sun-Times reported back in November that Marrero was a finalist for a job there. He would not confirm or deny that to us at the time. In a statement about this latest job application, he wrote, "This is not a decision I made lightly and is not one intended to diminish or disregard the great success we've shared in DPS during my tenure." Employees in the Thompson School District are expected to take furlough days next school year. The district, like many across Colorado, is dealing with decreasing enrollment and is having to make some budget cuts. In a recent meeting, the chief financial officer said furlough days will be necessary to help reduce the budget by more than $2.5 million and cover the cost of annual pay raises. He said teachers, licensed staff, and administrative staff will take 4 unpaid furlough days, and that the union agreed to them during contract negotiations. The school board will decide whether to approve the plan at their meeting next week.
Douglas County is spending millions of dollars on a new hospital unit meant to help young people experiencing a mental health crisis. They say demand is rising for that service. The County Board of Commissioners approved $3.4 million in opioid settlement funding to bring this space to Children's Hospital Colorado and Highlands Ranch. It'll help create a pediatric mental health unit, an emergency unit next to the ER. Doug Koch says, they hope to spend $7 million total, the rest coming from community and philanthropy.
The World Cup is officially underway, and watch parties around the Denver metro area are coming in all shapes and sizes. A ton of people packed McGregor Square earlier today to see Mexico beat South Africa in the first game at the tournament. We stopped by a smaller watch party for tonight's match between South Korea and Czechia. It was at 3456T in Aurora.
I thought you were counting the people.
No, 3456T or 35. No, there's more people there. It's a Korean-inspired cafe on Havana Street. And while it seemed tame at times, they got a little rowdy here when South Korea tied the game.
It's very exciting to see just like people that we know, but also people we met for the first. Wow, there you go. Wow.
See, we told you.
Yep.
You just had to wait for it. South Korea ended up winning this match 2-1. Up next, they play Mexico a week from today.